Welcome to the Office of Online Learning Training. This video will provide an overview of the Blackboard Learn 9 course shell and address some of the design elements we want to keep in mind when building our courses. Blackboard itself provides a list of 5 principles based on best practices that should guide our course shell design. The first principle they recommend we should keep in mind is ease of learning. We want students to be able to quickly learn how to navigate through the course so that they can focus their efforts on the learning and not on trying to find different elements of the course. The second principle we should focus on is efficiency of use. Once students have learned how to navigate the course shell, how easy is it to access the different elements? How many steps do they have to go through to get to the information they're looking for? The third principle is usability. For example, research shows that a vast majority of students access their online courses via mobile devices. How easy is it for them to do that? How easy is it for someone who has never taken a course in Blackboard to use the course shell? For the purposes of this video, we will skip the subjective satisfaction, but we should be aware that student persistence in the course is tied to how much they enjoy working through our course materials. The last principle in this list is accessibility. We addressed this in a separate video, but note that it is a legal and moral imperative that students with disabilities have access to all course materials, and it is our duty, when designing our courses, to make sure that all materials within them are accessible to all students. The remainder of this video will focus on demonstrating the creation of a course shell that keeps in mind the best practices identified here. By default, when you first log into a course shell that has been created for your course, it will be empty. The sidebar on the left is where links to different content will be displayed. And right below it, there's something called course management, or in this case, organization management, that provides a list of links to different tools that we may need when designing our courses. On the right-hand side is where all the elements of the course will be displayed for students. To create a new element for your course, we go to the plus sign and it will pop up with a list of 7 different tools that we can use. The one that we recommend that we start with is something called the module page, which provides access to general information, and we would call something like this course dashboard. And you can make it available to students right from the beginning, or you can make it available later. Once you've created it, you have the ability to add a variety of pre-created modules. And there are a few that we recommend that you take a look at when creating a dashboard if you're interested. One is My Announcements, which displays institution, organization, and course announcements that are relevant to the student. Another one is My Tasks, which displays things that students have to work on. To Do, which keeps students on top of their coursework, and it displays items that are due or past due for the courses. And the last one that we recommend is something called What's New, which provides notices about the enrolled courses. Once you've selected the modules that you'd like to add, at the bottom of the page there's an OK button. And this is what the course dashboard looks like now. Any of these elements can be dragged and rearranged in any way that we want. Just keep in mind that whatever format you choose for it is the format that your students will see. This button here tells you that the link is actually hidden from students for now, and if you would like to show it, you can click on the little arrow next to it and click Show Link, and this will make it available to students when they log in. The second element that we recommend adding is announcements. And announcements is actually something called a tool link. If we click on that, you'll see a list of different types of tool links, and one of them is announcements. You can give it the same exact name, And again, you can make it available or not available to students. And announcements is a place where you can create announcements for the course. For example, something that's coming up. If you've added content, if you want them to work on something, you can create an announcement. One of the benefits of the announcements is not only will they be displayed within this announcements page, but there is a checkbox when you're creating the announcements that allows you to send them to the students immediately by email. The next area that we recommend adding is your syllabus, right? The syllabus is very important to the course, and students should have very easy access to it. And the way that we do that is through creating a content area. And the content area is really just a blank folder. So once you've created it, you have the ability to actually add any kind of items to it. So we recommend adding the file here in PDF format. And that way students will have easy access to their syllabus. One of the things you'll notice is that even though we made this visible to students, there's still a little box here. And this is to indicate that the link has no content. And you can see that if you hover over anything pretty much in Blackboard, it will actually pop up with a more contextual menu that will let you know some other information. Now, design principles in general talk about breaking things down visually into groups of 3. So if you're looking to do that, you could add a divider here, and that puts a divider to the next group. The next area that we recommend adding is something called weekly materials. And this is, again, a content folder or a content area that you can make available to students. And in here, you can build more folders, content folders, for students to have access to the materials for the particular week that they're working on. So if I create week 1, and within here I can put all the elements of the course that I want to include, in week 2, and so on. The next element we recommend creating is a tool link, and this would be the calendar. And again, you go to add a tool link, you go to type, you select calendar, and you can call it calendar. And make it available to students. And within calendar, it's nice because it auto-populates for students all of the due dates, any assignments, any discussion boards, any tests that they have coming up. And it's a really easy visual way for them to find the information that they're looking for. They can even download this and sync it to their phones or to their devices in a different calendar. The next area is another tool link, and this one is called My Grades. And again, it can be called My Grades and made available to students. Now within My Grades, students only have access to their own grades. And even in that case, they only have access to seeing the grades that you've provided them with access to. But having them have access to the grades is a great way to alleviate some of the anxiety that they may have, and they can have the opportunity to ask you questions, and if someone made a mistake. So it's really easy for them to see their own grades. They don't have access to anybody else's grades here. But we'll talk more about grades in the grades video. Now again, we've added 3 areas. So visually, we're going to divide it again. And then we can add 3 more elements below it. So the next element that we recommend adding here is another content area, and we would call this course materials. And course materials can host anything that is not related to any particular week, but it's more general. It could be the introductions that everybody created. It could be a Q&A discussion board where they can ask questions about the course. It could be information about the textbook. etc. Anything that's really related to the course itself and not to any particular week. The next area we recommend adding is another module page called Help and Policies. And within this, we recommend adding just 2 modules from the list of modules that we were looking at before. The first one is Blackboard Learn Tutorials for Students, which provides a list of videos that students can watch to learn more about how to access different elements of the course. And then the second one is something called University Policies, which was created for the AMBA program, so make sure that it's actually applicable to your needs, but this also is important for students to see. And this has, as I mentioned, the videos and the university policies, anything from academic integrity, code of conduct, sexual misconduct, disability resource statement, and FERPA information, with links to the different resources. The last link that we recommend having in the sidebar is another tool link, and this is email. And this will provide students with an easy way to communicate with you or with each other. So the sidebar that we've created has 9 links that are available to students, and it's really easy for them to access the different elements of the course. It's really easy for them to access this using mobile devices. If we have too many links on the side, then they would have to keep scrolling and scrolling. Now, as I mentioned, these 2 buttons here tell us, 1, that it's an empty folder, and 2, that this one is actually hidden from students. So if I click Show Link, it will actually show it when it has materials in it. One of the ways to see what students are seeing is by entering the student preview. And if you click on that, it will display exactly what students are seeing, with the exception, even if you made the links visible, of folders that are actually empty. And we're missing one here, and we're missing one here. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is a visual design element. And under customization, there's something called teaching style, which is a little bit of a misnomer. But if we go there, you have the ability to set the entry point. So when students first sign into the course, what is it that they see? And in this case, it's actually the course dashboard, which is what we want them to see. And you also have the ability to select buttons instead of the text that we have here. And if we click on buttons, it will give us a whole bunch of different buttons that we can choose from in different colors, and we can change the shape. We can play around with it. The one that I really like is blue, which is the Southern colors, and it makes it visually appealing to students. So now I have a basic course design that I can start off of with and actually start building my course from here. There may be other elements that you would like to include in your sidebar to make navigation easier for students. For example, this semester I added a sidebar content area called Assignments, where I provided students with links to all of their assignments. While the assignments were also located in the particular weekly folders, students found it easier to navigate and locate their assignments if they were all in one easily accessible location. Therefore, the goal of this design example is just to provide you with a starting point for your own course. As you design your course shell, keeping in mind the best practices described in the beginning of the video, you can customize your course look to fit your and your student needs.